Hello, friends. I'm Stephen, and many of you know me through the work we share on the Laudato Si Action Platform. Welcome to this annual celebration. It is a gift to gather across continents and time zones, a circle of people who, in so many different places, are attending to the long, patient work of ecological conversion. Today is our moment to pause, to notice what has taken root, and to honor the actions, inspirations, challenges, and quiet courage that have shaped this past year. Before we begin, I'd love for us to get a sense of who we are and who is here together in this space. If you're able, please share in the chat your name, the country you're joining from, and the parish, diocese, or organization you are connected with. Let this be our way of arriving, not just as an audience, but as a community woven from many places, carrying a shared hope. If you'd like to follow along in Spanish, Italian, French, or Portuguese, we've made space for you. Just click the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen and choose the language you'd like. At one point in the program, we will have a presentation in Spanish and another in French. When we reach that moment, we'll invite all English speakers to switch over to the English interpretation channel. And a quick note, we know seats are limited for this Zoom gathering. That's why the conversation is also being recorded and streamed live. You'll be able to revisit it later on the Laudato Si Action Platform YouTube channel, along with the slides and speaker details. Finally, we want this to feel like a circle of welcome. Please keep your comments in the chat kind and respectful. When you signed up, you agreed to our etiquette guidelines, and we'll drop that link in the chat in case you'd like to take another look. Thank you for helping us make this space a place of care and connection. If a question comes to you during our time together, you don't need to wait. You can click the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and send it in at any point. We'll gather as many as we can before we close. And just a reminder, questions in the regular chat can easily get lost in the flow. So please do use the Q&A space for anything you'd like us to hold and respond to. Thank you, everybody. Here's where we're headed. This hour together will move like a small tapestry, threads of prayer, wisdom, story, and community woven across continents. We'll begin by grounding ourselves in prayer and presence, and then turn to voices from the Dicastery for promoting integral human development. First, Father Patricio Sarlat, and then Sister Alessandra Smerilli, whose reflections remind us how deeply this work lives within the heart of the Church. From there, we shift to the landscape of the past year. Alonso, Program Manager for the Laudato Si Action Platform, will guide us through the 2025 outcomes of the platform, what has flourished, what is emerging, and what hope looks like in data, in practice, and in people. We'll hear Pope Leo's words of encouragement, and then travel to Benin to the testimony of the Diocèse d'Abomey, a glimpse of the movement alive in another corner of the world. We'll continue with Sister Damien Marie Savino, who will help us reflect on what makes an action truly Laudato Si, where spirituality and practical transformation meet, and how our inner conversion shapes our outer commitments. And as we close, we look toward 2026 with gratitude for what this year has held and with renewed courage for the work ahead. A gentle flow of voices, stories, and shared purpose. This is the arc of our time together. Welcome. To begin our gathering today, we are honored to be led in prayer by Sarah Kirikumwino. Sarah is the president of the Laudato Si clubs within the Laudato Youth Initiative in Uganda, where she accompanies young people in ecological education, creativity, and action inspired by Laudato Si. She brings a vibrant background in faith-based leadership, debate, creative writing, innovation, and digital media, gifts she has used to launch and nurture Laudato Si clubs across schools and communities, fostering a culture of ecological awareness through poetry, music, storytelling, and hands-on learning. Sarah is also a trained Laudato Si animator with the Laudato Si movement and continues to inspire youth across Uganda to care for a common hope, with hope, imagination, and courage. She couldn't be with us live today, as she is in the middle of preparing for her exams. We are keeping her in our prayers as she studies, and we're grateful she took the time to record this prayer for us. With that spirit, we invite Sarah to lead us into this time of prayer.
We are sowers, not saviors. This prayer is a contemporary reimagining of the Romero Prayer, originally written by the late Bishop Ken Antina of Saginaw and often misattributed to Saint Oscar Romero. It was composed with those who care for a common home and all who labor quietly for ecological renewal. It helps now and then to step back and take a long view of creation. The healing of a common home is not only beyond our efforts, it is even beyond our sight. We accomplish in a lifetime only a small part of the great renewal that is God's work in the world. Nothing we do is complete, and that is another way of saying that the wholeness of creation always lies beyond us. No campaign restores every forest, no prayer cools every warming sea, no act of solidarity mends every wound of the poor or the planet, no gathering, however global, fulfills the dream of communion. This is what we are about. We plant trees whose shade we will never sit beneath. We tend the soil that others will harvest. We clean the waters, trusting they will flow clear again. We join the slow work of resurrection, the quiet mending of all that has been broken. We cannot do everything, and there is peace in knowing that. It frees us to do something, and to do it with love and perseverance. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, a chance for the Spirit to breathe through our small acts and make them more than what we could imagine. We are sowers, not saviors, caretakers, not creators, pilgrims on this beautiful, wounded earth, walking together towards restoration, trusting that God makes all things new.
As we continue in the spirit of reflection and shared purpose, we are grateful to be joined by Father Patricio, who offers a few words today on behalf of the Dicastery for promoting integral human development. Father Patricio is a diocesan priest from Yucatan, Mexico, and serves the Dicastery's Officer of Research and Reflection in Integral Ecology. Throughout his ministry, he has carried significant responsibility in the Church's social mission, including serving as diocesan coordinator for social pastoral care, executive secretary for the Episcopal Commission for Social Pastoral Ministry, national director of Mexico Caritas, and coordinator for Caritas CAMEX, supporting the Caribbean and Mexico. He is also a founding leader of the Mesoamerican Ecological Ecclesial Network, REMAM, and has been an important voice in global climate advocacy through Caritas Internationalis at several COPs. We are deeply grateful for his presence and his work on behalf of the global church. Let us hear from Father Patricio now. English speakers, please switch temporarily to the Spanish channel during his participation.
Muchas gracias. Queridos hermanos y hermanas, muy buenas tardes o buenos días según el lugar desde el cual se conectan. En nombre del Dicasterio para el Servicio del Desarrollo Humano Integral, es para mí una verdadera alegría saludarles y unirme a esta celebración del 4º aniversario de la plataforma de acción Laudato Si. Hoy, mientras nos reunimos en este webinar global, resuena todavía en nuestros corazones la catequesis que ayer en la mañana el Santo Padre, el Papa León, ha ofrecido durante la audiencia general. En ella nos ha recordado con fuerza que la conversión ecológica no es una opción secundaria, ni un adorno espiritual, sino un camino de fe que brota del encuentro con Cristo resucitado y se expresa en un estilo de vida marcado por la sobriedad, la gratitud, la justicia y el cuidado. Como él mismo señaló, es un camino que comienza en lo pequeño, en lo cotidiano, pero que transforma profundamente a las personas, a las comunidades y a las instituciones. Por eso, hoy queremos felicitarles y también animarles. Ustedes que se han inscrito y han decidido ponerse en camino como parte de esta plataforma, están respondiendo con generosidad a este llamado. Cada uno y cada una de ustedes, familias, parroquias, diócesis, congregaciones religiosas, escuelas, universidades, organizaciones de salud, empresas, movimientos sociales y comunidades enteras están encarnando un paso concreto en esta conversión ecológica integral que la Iglesia propone con esperanza. Cuando hace 4 años se lanzó la plataforma de acción Laudato Si, se hizo con un sueño grande, que la encíclica no quedara simplemente en palabras inspiradoras, sino que se convirtiera en procesos reales, comprometidos, verificables y transformadores. Ustedes son parte viva de ese sueño. Hoy damos gracias por los miles de proyectos, pequeños y grandes, que están germinando en los rincones más diversos del planeta, desde huertos comunitarios hasta programas de energías renovables, desde itinerarios formativos y celebrativos hasta proyectos de resiliencia ante el cambio climático, desde iniciativas pastorales que enseñan a amar la creación hasta redes de solidaridad con los más vulnerables, quienes sufren de modo desproporcionado la crisis ambiental. Todo esto es Laudato Si hecho vida. Pero también sabemos que una verdadera conversión no termina nunca. El Papa León nos lo recordó ayer. Convertirse es siempre comenzar de nuevo. Es escuchar de nuevo el clamor de la tierra y el clamor de los pobres. Es dejar que el Espíritu Santo toque lo más profundo de nuestro corazón para transformar nuestra mirada, nuestros hábitos, nuestras relaciones, nuestras estructuras. Este camino no se recorre en soledad, se recorre en comunidad, como pueblo de Dios, con la certeza de que cada pequeño gesto cuenta y que la suma de muchas fidelidades humildes pueden cambiar la historia. Por eso en este aniversario queremos invitarles a renovar su entusiasmo. Los desafíos ambientales y sociales que enfrenta nuestra casa común son grandes y a veces pueden parecer abrumadores, pero la esperanza cristiana no se fundamenta en nuestras fuerzas, sino en la certeza de que Dios sigue actuando, sigue creando, sigue sosteniendo nuestra misión. Cada uno de nosotros está llamado a ser instrumento de esa esperanza en su propio contexto. Y la plataforma de acción Laudato Si es precisamente un lugar de encuentro, de aprendizaje mutuo, de acompañamiento y de discernimiento, para que podamos ayudarnos unos a otros a perseverar en este camino con creatividad y valentía, con espíritu sinodal. Permítanme agradecer de manera especial a quienes coordinan, facilitan, organizan y acompañan estos procesos en todos los niveles. A los animadores Laudato Si, a los equipos diocesanos y parroquiales, a los responsables de instituciones educativas y de salud, a los líderes comunitarios y a los numerosos voluntarios que sostienen esta red con su tiempo y su dedicación. Gracias por no cansarse. Gracias por creer que otro mundo es posible y que una iglesia más coherente, más sencilla y cercana puede ser un signo profético en el mundo. Queridos amigas y amigos, el Evangelio nos enseña que la creación entera gime esperando la manifestación de los hijos de Dios. Hoy, al celebrar estos 4 años, recordamos que nuestra respuesta no es teórica, es un acto de amor. El amor a Dios que nos ha creado y nos ha confiado su obra. El amor a nuestros hermanos y hermanas, especialmente a los más frágiles. Y el amor a las futuras generaciones que merecen heredar una tierra habitable, bella y fecunda. Que esta celebración renueve nuestra convicción y nuestra alegría. Sigamos caminando juntos con los ojos puestos en el Señor, pero con los pies en la tierra y con el corazón dispuesto a escuchar su voz, que nos llama a custodiar la vida en todas sus formas. Que María, Madre y Reina de la creación, nos acompañe y nos enseñe a cuidar con ternura lo que el Padre nos ha dado. En nombre del Dicasterio para el servicio del desarrollo humano integral, gracias por su compromiso, gracias por su testimonio y feliz 4º aniversario para todos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Padre Patricio, for your kind wishes and for all of the Laudato Si Action Platform participants. We are so grateful for your words and for your presence here today. As we continue, we're honored to share a message of encouragement from Sister Alessandra Smerilli, FMA, who serves as the Secretary for the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development. Sister Smerilli is an economist and religious sister whose work bridges faith, economic justice, and global cooperation. She brings a wealth of academic and practical experience, having served as a professor, researcher, Vatican State counselor, and a key leader in the Church's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Her response focuses on cooperation, ethics, and value-based organizations, themes deeply aligned with the spirit of Laudato Si.
2025 is the year of hope, the global Jubilee year, celebrated by the Catholic Church and other people of faith and goodwill around the world, as well as the 10th anniversary of Pope Francis' encyclical Laudato Si and 800th anniversary of St. Francis' Canticle of the Creatures. As we enter this year, we reflect on the dignity of all persons and respect for God's gift creation, which the Holy Father encouraged us to promote in his letter introducing the Jubilee year, Spe non confundit, which means may hope fill your heart, recognizing the link between respect for human life and dignity, from conception to natural death, and respect for God's gift of creation is at the heart of integral ecology. In the light of this teaching by Pope Francis, the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development acknowledges the precious resource represented by the Laudato Si Action Platform to assist Catholic-inspired and other institutions, as well as families and individuals in their effort and initiatives to take determinative and definitive action on the promotion of integral ecology. We are grateful for all who have enrolled in the platform. This is a strong sign of your deep respect for the human person and God's creation. We also encourage local churches, episcopal conferences, dioceses, and parishes, as well as religious orders and Catholic-inspired organizations and the ecclesial movement and other people of faith and goodwill to consider enrolling in the platform as a sign of your commitment to the principle, values, teaching, and practice of integral ecology during this Jubilee year and long into the future.
Now, I would like to introduce Alonso de Llanes, who serves as the program manager for the Laudato Si Action Platform, who will give a greeting. Alonso plays a key role in coordinating the global development of the platform, bringing together partners, guiding strategic direction, and supporting the many communities and institutions that are putting Laudato Si into practice around the world. With a decade devoted to sustainability and climate change advocacy, his expertise bridges energy, sustainability, and spirituality. As a PhD candidate in management, his interdisciplinary approach fosters meaningful change. Committed to the Catholic Church's sustainable future, Alonso is a catalyst for positive transformation. We're grateful for his leadership and for the spirit of care and collaboration he brings to his work. Alonso, over to you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this celebration webinar. I'm just going to share my screen to share some of the outcomes of the platform this year. Some of the questions from the chat will be answered with this presentation. I hope that you can see my screen.
We can see it perfectly. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. So this year we have more than 11,000 participants, 11,400 something else of total registrations. And as you can see here in the corner, we have 726 local religious communities, 5,799 families, 1,145 organizations and groups, 314 dioceses. If you remember from last year, we had less dioceses. This year has been very positive in diocesan growth. We have 759 parishes, 1,348 schools, 305 universities, 778 religious congregations, 113 economic entities, and 159 hospitals. You can see here better. We have more than 20 million people reported by the platform, institutional participants of direct impact. We have 150 countries participating in the platform. So institutions and families from 150 countries are participating in this journey of integral ecology. We have a very, very variety of geographic participation. But then what is important to remember is that the platform is this global network that is dedicated to ecological transformation. And the platform helps individuals and institutions to take meaningful action for our common home. So what makes our platform unique, this platform, which is yours, is that it's an official Vatican program that is rooted in the vision of Pope Francis. It offers bi-monthly webinars, engaging sessions with experts and peers worldwide. Many of you assist to these bi-monthly webinars and then to the sessions after to continue exploring collaborations between and among you. We have a resource library with over 950 tools and materials available in multiple languages. As I will say, the platform fosters global connection, and there are transformative opportunities. So you are part of this global movement fostering integral ecology. I don't know what's okay. So what we can see here is that, or what we can see from this year is that we have a growing number of plans, reflections, and suggested actions. Did you recall this year we made a revamp of the platform, and then suggested actions are now clickable on the platform dashboard. So now we have all these sorts of information that you guys are sharing with us. So among the year, 3,669 actions were completed by you. And as you can see here, we have different actions for different Laudato Si goals. For example, we can see that we have 821 actions on the goal of adoption of sustainable lifestyles. We have 473 actions in the response to the cry of the poor, 503 in ecological education, 449 in ecological economics, 458 in response to the cry of the earth, 440 ecological spirituality, and 525 actions related to the goal of community resilience and empowerment. And we gather here 10 of the top 10 of actions you guys did in 2025. And all this information will be included in the global report that will be available soon to download. You will also receive an email with the link to the report in different languages. So this information will be also shared with you. So you can see here the top 10 actions. The first one, recycle as much as possible. You're all recycling around the world. You're buying food from local producers. You're installing efficient lighting, reducing food waste, compost, planting native trees. You are transitioning from a diet from meat-based to plant-based. You're installing solar panels, support cooperative management practices, and make public statements about advocacy issues. So now, because you're communicating these, we're able to see where you are putting your efforts in this journey of integral ecology, and that's wonderful in creating better ways in which we can help you doing a plan, doing a reflection, and also tailoring the kind of resources that you need to continue improve these actions that you are already doing. So thank you very much for clicking those suggested actions in the dashboard, for clicking those actions and letting us know what you are actually working on. And then last but not least, is as you might remember, certificates are not available for institutional participants. So we have now 73 certificates that have been granted to institutions that have completed all of these steps. So congratulations to all who earned this distinction. And then I encourage you to complete the steps. If you already have a Laudato Si plan, just go to the dashboard, click on the suggested actions that you already did from the plan that you uploaded, and have your certificate granted. So it's if you're already making a lot of steps, it's very easy to have it. So thank you again very much. And just a reminder, this will be included in the annual report and you will have access to. Thank you and congratulations, everyone.
Thank you so much, Alonso. Hearing how this community continues to grow in depth and commitment and real and measurable impact, it is a profound source of hope for many of us. And we know that these numbers aren't just data points, they are lives, stories, and actions unfolding around the world. With that spirit, we turn now to a message from Pope Leo XIV, shared earlier this October at the Raising Hope Climate Conference, a reminder of the encouragement and vision that guides us forward.
I therefore renew my strong appeal for unity around integral ecology and for peace. It is encouraging to see the variety of organizations, represented at this conference, as well as the wide range of organizations that have joined the Laudato Si movement and the Platform for Action. Moreover, Pope Francis emphasized that the most effective solutions will not come from individual efforts alone, but above all, from major political decisions on the national and international levels. Everyone in society, through non-governmental organizations and advocacy groups, must put pressure on governments to develop and implement more rigorous regulations, procedures, and controls. Citizens need to take an active role in political decision-making at national, regional, and local levels. Only then will it be possible to mitigate the damage done to the environment.
We're grateful for those words and for that truth from Pope Leo XIV, a call to courage and imagination that resonates deeply with all of our work. We now continue our journey by listening to a testimony from another corner of the global church. Monsignor Eugène Cyrille Houndékon of the Diocese d'Aubigny offers us a glimpse of how Laudato Si is taking root in Benin, in communities and parishes, and everyday acts of care. Monsignor Eugène is the Bishop of the Aubigny in Benin, appointed by Pope Benedict in 2007. He holds dual doctorates in canon law and civil law from Rome. He has served the church as professor at the Major Seminary of Saint Gall in Ouidah, Secretary General, and later Vice President of the Episcopal Conference of Benin, President of the Ecclesiastical Tribunal of Cotonou, and founding pastor of several parishes. Since 2008, he has also led the Episcopal Commission for Social Communications and for Economy and Finance. His Episcopal motto, "Let us work for the good of all," reflects his lifelong commitment to service, integrity, and the flourishing of all. Let us turn to his message.
Sœurs et frères en Christ et en humanité, c'est avec grande joie et reconnaissance que nous vivons ce moment particulier de promotion de la transition écologique et de l'Église verte dans le diocèse d'Abomey, au Bénin. Je rends grâce à Dieu qui a inspiré au pape François non seulement de réveiller la conscience de toute l'humanité à travers la lettre encyclique Laudato Si, parue le 24 mai 2015, et encore davantage à travers l'exhortation apostolique Laudato Deum, louez Dieu, qui a été publiée le 4 octobre 2023. Je puis dire que c'est cette exhortation apostolique qui m'a profondément interpellé. Cette interpellation a été si pressante que dès mon retour dans mon diocèse, après la visite à Limina des évêques du Bénin à Rome dans le mois d'octobre 2023, j'ai rassemblé et rencontré les divers organes de collaboration pour une meilleure sensibilisation. Nous avons pris conscience de n'avoir pas encore mené des actions concrètes suite à la première interpellation du pape à travers Laudato Si. La visite des évêques du Bénin au Dicastery du service de développement humain intégral a été un grand bienfait pour moi. Ainsi, avec mon entourage, nous avons tenu à faire de l'année 2023-2024 un temps de sensibilisation. Et l'année dernière, l'année pastorale écoulée, nous avons pris à cœur de constituer dans chaque paroisse la commission pour la transition écologique et la famille verte. Et enfin, cette année, nous sommes activés graduellement pour tenter de relever le défi écologique planétaire à travers des efforts de salubrité, de ramassage des ordures, de tri. Et le plus grand défi pour nous aujourd'hui, c'est non seulement de ramasser les déchets, mais de procéder à leur traitement. Alors j'encourage aussi tous les diocèses dans le monde entier à prendre à cœur cette exhortation apostolique, Laudato Deum, pour aller de l'avant, que nous marchions ensemble. Dans notre diocèse, nous avons tenu à aller plus loin. Et c'est pourquoi, en septembre dernier, il a été organisé un voyage dans le diocèse de Brescia, en Italie, pour découvrir une implantation de traitement des déchets à travers la société SPA dénommée 2A2, qui depuis 1998 est devenu le berceau de la transformation des déchets à tout niveau. Nous sommes instruits pour qu'à notre tour, nous puissions lancer quelque chose ensemble pour que réellement notre planète s'en trouve bien. Alors, comme petit témoignage, je dirais que depuis que nous avons lancé cette invitation, il s'est trouvé que sur une paroisse décanale de notre diocèse, la paroisse Sainte-Thérèse de l'Enfant Jésus de Zobodomé, une dame nommée Ziti Levine était en train de prier lorsqu'elle a senti intérieurement un appel. Et c'était l'appel de Marie. Un appel à couvrir le lieu de la grotte de fleurs. Alors on peut dire que désormais, Marie s'est invitée dans la promotion écologique. Marie s'est invitée dans la préservation de l'environnement à travers les soins et la beauté de ce beau monde que Dieu a créé, à travers la valorisation des fleurs, à travers, bien sûr, la protection de tout ce qui peut se dégrader. Alors donc, nous avons une raison encore de plus pour rendre gloire à Dieu dans notre vie, à travers vraiment le soin de l'environnement. Et donc, c'est une joie pour nous de prendre part à ce webinaire pour que l'espérance soit une réalité et soit comblée. Nous avons à peine commencé et déjà des signes évidents sont là. Nous avons une paroisse, Notre-Dame de Loup de Corvée, où aujourd'hui, quel que soit le moment où on s'y trouve, il n'y a pas un seul papier par terre. Alors je nous encourage à nous rappeler deux paroles du pape François dans Laudato Deum. Au numéro 15, parlant de la crise climatique, il disait « Les manifestations de cette crise climatique ont des conséquences très graves qui s'étendent déjà sur des centaines d'années. » Et au numéro 16, il disait « Nous pouvons juste freiner cette dégradation pour que les dommages qui en découlent soient réduits. » Alors, marchons ensemble pour sauvegarder cette création, marchons ensemble pour que les générations à venir puissent jouir aussi de la beauté de ces créatures et que nous puissions avoir réellement une vie pleinement accordée à la volonté de Dieu. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, everyone. I know there was a bit of confusion with the interpretation channels just now. Thank you all for your patience as we move through that moment. Gatherings like this with a truly multilingual community can get a little tangled at times, and that's completely understandable. We're grateful for your flexibility, and we're also grateful for the words of Monsignor Eugène Houndékon for sharing that powerful witness from Abomi. It is a reminder of how Laudato Si comes alive in communities through steadfast local commitment. We now turn to a different kind of reflection, one that helps us look inward as well as outward. Sister Damien Marie Savino will guide us into the spiritual heart of this work, exploring what makes an action truly Laudato Si and how practical transformation is rooted in a deep ecological spirituality. Sister Damien Marie Savino is a Franciscan sister of the Eucharist with a doctorate in civil environmental engineering and master's degrees in theology and soil science. Her research interests include integral ecology and engineering design, theology and science, ecological restoration, and resilience theory. Currently, she serves as the Melchor Visiting Research Professor in the College of Engineering at the University of Notre Dame, with a concurrent appointment in the McGrath Institute for Church Life. Sister Damien Marie is the author of the forthcoming book, Learning the Language of Creation, Catholic Social Teaching and Integral Ecology, which will be available from Liturgical Press in January 2026. Sister Damien, we're so honored to welcome your voice.
Thank you very much. Now let me just share my screen here too. And okay. Are you able to see okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for your kind invitation to be part of this event. I'm very honored. My gratitude to Stephen, to Alonso, to Maureen, and others who put this event together and who really worked so hard to bring the teachings of Laudato Si alive for each of you. And my gratitude to so many here who are part of the Laudato Si Action Platform. It's quite edifying. When I was told the theme, I was really struck by it. It's a beautiful place to begin because for us as Catholics and Christians, it's very important that our efforts at caring for creation are geared not just toward the practical doing of things, as good as that is, but rather are undergirded by spiritual convictions, doing what flows from interior conversion, doing what flows from the heart. So I think our entry point to what makes an action truly Laudato Si is not simply practical or social action, but the fact that it's undergirded by our faith. It flows from our interior selves, from our hearts, as we are grounded in the teachings of our Catholic faith and as we're living the spiritual conversion to which our faith calls us. So let's look a little bit more. And I have to start, of course, I am a Franciscan, but I am in union with Pope Francis by beginning with St. Francis, who Pope Francis identified as the exemplar of the kind of ecology he's calling for in the encyclical. So when I was preparing this, I asked myself, well, what can St. Francis of Assisi teach us about this? What markers of a truly Laudato Si action can he point us to? There are many examples of conversion in St. Francis's life, but the one that he recounts in his own testament as being sort of the heart of it all was his encounter with the leper. And he wrote there, "The Lord granted me, Brother Francis, to begin doing penance this way. when I was in my sins, just to see lepers was very bitter for me. And the Lord himself took me among them, and I showed mercy to them. And on leaving them, what seemed bitter to me had turned for me into sweetness of body and soul. And afterwards, I waited a little and then left the world. And so in embracing the leper, St. Francis confronted his own sort of inner demons, and he was able to embrace what repulsed him, what he wanted to run away from, what caused him fear, what held him back. And in doing so, as the story goes, when he turned around on the road after embracing the leper had disappeared. And what had been bitter and repulsive to him became very sweet. And so that, I think, is the conversion process to which Pope Francis is calling us in Laudato Si. And he says that the first step toward developing a healthy relationship with creation has to begin with personal conversion. This entails the recognition, he says, of our errors, sins, faults, and failures, and leads to a heartfelt repentance and desire to change. And then he goes on to say that this conversion is also needed in relation to our relationship with creation. And so he says we must examine our lives and acknowledge the ways in which we have harmed God's creation through our actions and our failure to act. So the question for us, I think, today is, how can we embark on this kind of conversion, this ecological conversion that's called for in Laudato Si? And how can we then embrace the leprosy in the earth and in our human communities, the places that we want to run away from or ignore, that represent kind of an inner pollution that's manifesting itself outwardly on the land? So we have to start with our internal ecologies, and we need to be both aware of them and also beware of them, because as Pope Francis reminds us in Laudato Si, and here he's quoting also from Pope Benedict XVI, so the popes are telling us the external deserts in the world are growing because the internal deserts have become so vast. So they're reminding us that our internal landscapes are being reflected in how we act in the world. And so what we see in the world is really a manifestation of an internal desert, an internal pollution. The external deserts are growing because the internal deserts have become so fast. And I think that was the motivation for why I wanted to come to Notre Dame, and I'm very privileged to be here to write the book. So I'd like to propose then that there's two aspects of Franciscan conversion that can serve as two markers of an authentically Laudato Si action. This isn't prohibitive of other actions, but I think these two really speak deeply to me, and I hope to all of you. And both relate to getting our internal ecology straight. First, the conversion process, and this is as articulated by the great Franciscan saint, Saint Bonaventure. In his journey of the soul to God, Bonaventure sought to put into words what Saint Francis had lived. And he described the spiritual journey as an out, in, up pilgrimage. And I think that can be quite a helpful image to us in our contemporary efforts toward integral ecology. And then secondly, St. Francis's capacity to preach to the birds. And as we celebrate this 800th anniversary of his death, to hear creation speaking to him as he did in his famous Canticle of the Creatures. And he was named the patron, St. Francis was named the patron saint of ecology by John Paul II. And so his special and distinctive capacity for listening and hearing the messages of God in the created world, I think, is an important marker for how we can live integral ecology. Okay, so a little bit more on this conversion process, which I think is quite beautiful. We begin with the outside world. We are embodied creatures, and we have to relate to the created world. And as Catholics, we're sacramental people, so the physical world is important to us. And Bonaventure spends a lot of time in his treatise speaking about how we relate to material reality, that we need to describe it and experience it fully with all our senses. And this is very important for us as humans, as embodied creatures. But we don't stop there. the material reality is the entrance point to interior conversion. It's the door in for us as embodied creatures. And it's interesting, Benedict XVI was also very strong on this in his series of essays in the beginning about creation. He emphasizes first the physical, then the spiritual. And here he's taking a very Bonaventurean, a very Franciscan approach. We begin with the world outside, but it's the door to the world within. And we're the only creature that can take this journey. Then, so that second step is the movement within, our internal ecology. And here our knowledge and our will, our science, how we understand the world around us, our self-examination, repentance, that whole inner process is included in that world, the movement to the world within. And then always as Catholics, as Christians, we go to the world above. So we need to live in light of our eternal destiny, never forgetting the reality of the transcendent, and bringing creation with us into the eschaton. I like to explain this to my students based upon what Pope Francis wrote in Laudato Si 66, that our three fundamental relationships are with God, with others, and with the earth. So when hopefully we get to heaven at the end of our lives, we need to bring gifts for the Lord, and we will bring him how we have loved God, how we have loved others, and how we have loved the earth. We raise all those gifts and offer them to the Father at the end of our lives. And that, I think, is the culmination of our pilgrimage. And then the second marker of a truly Laudato Si action, I believe, is to learn to see nature as a magnificent book, as St. Francis of Assisi did. A magnificent book in which God speaks to us and grants us a glimpse of its infinite beauty and goodness. So throughout his life, St. Francis learned to read the book of creation. And I believe that is one of the key challenges for us today, and that's the theme of my book. When St. Francis called creatures brothers and sisters, he was speaking the language of fraternity that he had learned from the book of creation. His insight wasn't a shallow one. It was something deeper, kind of than the patron saint of the bird bath, to which we've all been a bit conditioned to think when we think of St. Francis. We have to remember that St. Francis wrote his canticle at the end of his life after a long pilgrimage of physical and spiritual suffering, only after he had received the stigmata, for example. It was only then that he had mastered the inner attentiveness needed to read the language of fraternity in creation, and so could perceive the elements of creation as brother and sister. And so I think following St. Francis's example, the challenge for us and a real marker of a truly Laudato Si action is to learn attentiveness to our three fundamental relationships with God, with others, with the earth. And in relation to the earth, only when we can identify with the created world and develop our capacities to be truly attentive to it, not just rushing and passing over it, as we do in our rapidified world, but to be truly attentive to it, then that will help us to learn to love and care for it. And I think in this process, we'll be able to hear what God is speaking to us through the beauty of creation, as well as to feel its suffering. Pope Francis says we need to feel the desertification of the soil almost as a physical ailment, and the extinction of a species as a painful disfigurement. So I think this internal conversion, this internal process will undergird our efforts, and we will really be able to read what the Lord wants us to understand in the book of creation around us. And so what makes an action truly Laudato Si? I would argue two markers, then the out, in, up conversion, that we can live with authenticity and energy. And secondly, when we can learn to live and act according to the language of creation. And I think that when we will do this, we will then, say as engineers, be able to design in accord with that language. As families, we'll be able to live according to that language in our family life. And so I think it would transform our approach to living Laudato Si basically from the inside out. And so here, I thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you. on this anniversary celebration. And we'll certainly be praying for all of you and asking God to bless you abundantly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Damien, for the depth and the clarity of what you shared and for being with us in this moment of celebration. Your reflection brings a lot of richness to the work that we're doing together.
Thank you.
First, as we bring our time together toward a close, we'd love to hear from you. I was reviewing the chat just a moment ago, and we have over 57 countries represented in this community. One of the most beautiful parts of this global community is the hope that we carry and the gratitude we cultivate. Both are forms of strength and both sustain this moment. So we invite you now to add your voice to the chat. First, what are you grateful for from 2025? Moments of action, people, small seeds that took root, anything that reminds you why this work matters. And I'll try to read a few in the chat. I see a lot of voices of gratitude for you, Sister Damien Marie. The opportunity to be part of Laudato Si, for the platform, for the animator training with the Laudato Si movement. I see words of gratitude for the Raising Hope Conference in Rome, and increased awareness and ethical consumption of food. Ongoing healing in Jamaica by our Bible study. Thankful for creation, this very moment. For Pope Leo and Pope Francis and their commitment and gifts. For change within our parish at the Diocese of Raleigh. An apple tree over in the Netherlands. For this community. For practice for milkweed. And as we continue to hear and listen to that gratitude, I want to ask a second question. What are your hopes for 2026? The dreams that you are holding, the steps you want to take, the change you long to see in your community or in our common home. Take a moment to reflect and share whatever arises in the chat, and I'll name what grounds us in that hope that will carry us forward. Planting more trees, hope for courage and care for water, the success of COP30, social justice in the United States, society that is conscious, just food systems, teaching children. I'm overwhelmed by your hope. The chat is moving so quickly. Responsible living, consuming and relating, more action, less talk, to live simply, to establish Laudato Si Center, ongoing gathering, plant more trees, cleaning the river in Kinshasa, advocate for organic food. Well, we hope all of those things come to your communities with the love of God and with the support and care of this community and those around you as well. Your hopes are our hopes. Your dreams are our dreams. And I want to express our deep gratitude for you coming here today to celebrate the Laudato Si Action Platform. I also want to express gratitude to everyone who made this gathering possible, to our speakers, Sarah, Padre Patricio, Sister Alessandra, Alonso, Monsignor Eugène, and Sister Damien. Thank you for your wisdom, your witness, and the hope you carry into this work. To our interpreters and our behind-the-scenes team, thank you for holding the threads that allow a global community like ours to meet, pray, reflect, and learn together. And to each of you who joined us from every corner of the world, again, 52 countries named in the chat. 57 countries named in the chat. Thank you for your presence, your attention, and your daily commitment. You make care for our common whole possible. Before we say goodbye, a final invitation. If you're working toward your 2025 Laudato Si Action Platform certificate, it is not too late. Please take a moment to review the steps needed to complete it. You'll find more information and helpful links in the chat, and we encourage you to continue your journey so you can be recognized for all that you've accomplished this year. As we prepare to enter the Advent season, a time of quiet expectation, of watching and listening for hope, the hopes that you named for 2026, may this gathering send you forth with renewed courage and tenderness for the work ahead. May the seeds planted in 2025 continue to grow, and may 2026 meet us with the grace we need to tend to creation, to each other, and to the dreams God has placed in our hearts. Thank you all once again. Go in peace and go in hope. Thank you, everybody. Adiós. Hasta la próxima. Thank you, everyone.